Hey everybody, welcome back to Retro Modding News. There's a bunch of stories to go over, so let's just get started. I want to give a quick shout out to Ruby Otaku on Twitter for telling me about this next story. They actually operate a small modding shop out of the UK. There's a list of mods that they can do on their website here. Right now it sounds like they're moving, but you can always contact them to see if they are available to do any mod work for you. Alright, so the story that they shared with me is this interesting GBA HD adapter board. It's made by Martin Ref Seth, or HDR. It's a small adapter that connects to the Spartan FPGA board for the GBA HD, and along with this 3D printed top piece here, I know it shows acrylic in this picture here, but this is an STL for you to 3D print. You can create a HeadCrab version of the GBA HD. The original HeadCrab design actually came from the Game Boy Advance consoleizer. They had a version of a consoleized Game Boy Advance where you could still use the Game Boy Advance buttons on the front, but you would have the HDMI coming out for you to play on a TV. So this is essentially the same thing, but for the GBA HD project. Martin is selling them over here on Coffee. Not sure if you pronounce it coffee or Ko-Fi. Now, unfortunately, there's only one available. Probably by the time you see this video, they'll be out of stock. So hopefully Martin can create some more of these boards, although it would be better if this was an open source addition to the GBA HD project. Speaking of GBA HD, Consoles for You is showing off another all-in-one GBA HD shield. Now, this one appears to be different from Zekfu's version. Zekfu created the original all-in-one GBA HD shield. But the interesting part about the Consoles for You version is they found replacements for the Game Boy Advance cartridge slot as well as the link cable port. In the Zekfu version, I think you need to recycle the cartridge slot and link cable from the Game Boy that you're taking apart. But the Consoles for You version is interesting because you can find more new parts to build the shield. I thought this was pretty cool. It's still a prototype, so I'm not sure of any availability just yet. Even more GBA HD news, Greg Collins from LaserBear has actually designed a case for the GBA HD all-in-one shield. This one is for Zekfu's version, and it looks pretty cool actually. This is sort of the missing piece for me to be interested in the GBA HD AIO shield. Up until now, it was just the AIO shield and the Spartan board just kind of exposed. And Greg Collins makes some really awesome cases for some other products as well. So you know that this is going to be designed pretty well for this GBA HD AIO. Oh yeah, I'm wearing my LaserBear shirt. Next we have an update from Darth Cloud. I think this actually adds on to the story I covered, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago about the Super Nintendo Junior BlueRetro support. Darth Cloud posted this YouTube video of him showing off the BlueRetro, or the ESP32, actually controlling the Super Nintendo Mini. He shows off that there are button combinations to both turn on the Super Nintendo Mini as well as turn it back off again. So in a sense, the ESP32 board and the BlueRetro project are sort of enhancing the Super Nintendo Minis. This is really cool stuff, but just judging from the wiring here, this like Kynar wire all over the place, it looks like a pretty complicated install, but definitely way better than my idea of using those Wiimote style plugs to connect to everything. Definitely excited to hear more about this from Darth Cloud. I've got some more BlueRetro news, and this one is actually pretty interesting. If you've been around retro Twitter long enough, you've probably heard about people's distaste for the Bitfunx company on AliExpress. They make clones of a lot of retro modding products, but it's interesting to see them actually just implement the BlueRetro project in a PS2 form here. Well, they definitely didn't design the case because it looks exactly the same as MI213's case here that he's showing off on Twitter. If you look at the pictures here, they actually ripped off the design for his older version of this PS2 adapter. He has this really awesome newer looking version of the case, so that's pretty interesting actually. And you know, I'm with Darth Cloud. I'm not sure why it took Bitfunx so long to create a BlueRetro adapter. I think they should just have a ton of these for each individual console. With that being said, it's not cool for them to steal the design, and the price here, even though it's in Canadian, seems really crazy. This is about $35 US, plus shipping too. So to me, this is a pretty pricey adapter, especially since we have people creating sort of open source versions. They're creating them and selling them too for less money than this. So it seems kind of crappy for Bitfunx to both steal a case and then charge a lot for this adapter. I guess kudos to Darth Cloud for making BlueRetro such an awesome project. All right, moving on from BlueRetro and GBA HD news, Todd Gill from RetroFrog has created a Dreamcast controller cable kind of connector clip thing. If you've ever used the Dreamcast, you'll know that the controller cord comes kind of like backwards toward you, and some people might think that's a little bit awkward. And what's even more of a slap in the face is that the Dreamcast controller itself itself has a stupid little notch at the top there. Like you're supposed to wrap the controller cord around itself and notch it in there all the time. Like, why not just make the controller cord come from the top? Whatever. Todd Gill has solved that problem with his little controller clip thing so that it kind of makes the controller cable permanently in that notch. And I think they released the 3D printing files for this on their Discord. So if you're interested in just printing your own instead of buying one, head over to the Discord and you can check those files out. Speaking of 3D printing, Retro Digital has created this interesting Neo Geo SD card mount, sort of in the style of Laser Bear's mounts. This is actually perfect because the Neo Geo SD, I don't think it has a really great mounting system. From everything that I've seen, the SD card slot is like poking through the vent holes there. And I've heard other people say that the pins can get kind of loose as you're taking the SD card in and out. So I'm really a huge fan of these mounts that just replace the original disk drives of these systems altogether. I actually have a Neo Geo CD and the SD card ODE for it. So this is actually perfect for me. I'm actually interested in getting one of these so that I can show it in my Neo Geo CD SD loader video. So this project is very cool. No word if this is going to be for sale or if they're just going to open source the files and let people print their own. Oh boy, I've saved the best for last. So someone tweeted to Bob from Retro RGB that IntecGaming is coming out with a Game Boy Advance HDMI Kit Kickstarter. I didn't recognize this IntecGaming name before, but Bob said that this was the company that made the Warrior 64 kit for the N64. IntecGaming is also famous for making these terrible console to HDMI converters too. And I'm pretty sure that it turned out that the Warrior 64 kit was basically just one of these cables jammed inside of an N64 shell with a real N64 motherboard inside of it. So it wasn't a very sophisticated solution, not like the N64 digital or the actual FPGA solutions that we have today. Bob from Retro RGB actually has a video about the Warrior 64, so if you're interested, you could check out that video to learn more about the Warrior 64. This Kickstarter is absolutely hilarious. Let's just scroll down to the Kickstarter and see what this is all about. I found this Venn diagram that's absolutely ridiculous, environmental friendly, nostalgia, prevalent, and the GBA HDMI kit is somewhere in between there, but not like right in the middle where all those three circles meet. I thought that was funny. Okay, let's see. Comparisons to the Game Boy Advance Consolizer. Easy to install. That doesn't sound good. If this is like a no solder situation, oh boy. There's no OSD, which makes me think that they don't wire anything up to the Game Boy Advance at all. HDMI standard port. Okay, so that's like a full-size HDMI port. 720p. AV out. Interesting. RGB to HDMI. Is the ribbon cable on the Game Boy Advance actually outputting RGB? That's interesting. It has Super Nintendo gamepad port as well, as in addition to the Bluetooth support. Powered by a Type-C USB. Cost is median. This cost me like $130 just for this whole kit here. So yeah, okay, it's a little bit cheaper than a Game Boy Advance Consolizer kit and the shell and everything. So the real reason why I was actually interested in this, if you look at this picture here, there's a second board over here that kind of looks like a controller. If we scroll down to these pictures here, if you look at the orange Game Boy and the black smoke kind of looking Game Boy, that board actually converts the now empty Game Boy Advance shell, because you took the Game Boy Advance motherboard out to put in this HDMI kit. It converts the Game Boy Advance shell and buttons into a Super Nintendo controller. To me, if that's well implemented, which I do not think it will be, I looked at the instructions up here, use conductive glue to connect some pieces. We'll have to actually wait and see what this controller board looks like, but that alone is the whole reason that I backed this Kickstarter, because I think that it's genius to use the empty Game Boy Advance shell with a Game Boy Advance Consolizer. Looks like it has an injection molded case too, so it's sort of interesting. It doesn't look like there's going to be any soldering involved with this, so maybe if you're new to console modding and you're just plain curious and you don't expect a really high quality product, then maybe support IntecGaming. There's still a chance that this project doesn't even get backed. That's it for this week. If you want to suggest a new story to me, follow me on Twitter or join the Discord. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.